I abandoned a man during a hurricane. And this isn't a story that I want to admit, but this is a story that I'm going to admit because, one, it's helping me learn how I can practically love others like myself, specifically the stranger. And also, it reveals, although it says something terrible about a mistake that I made, it reveals the grace of God right in front of my face. And so I want to share it with you for these reasons, because maybe we can learn together. But also, it's on my heart and I have to confess it. And so here's what happened. I was living in my van in Florida, and this occurred about a year and 2 months ago. There was a hurricane coming to Florida, coming from the West Coast into Central Florida where I lived. And I would always see these men. There were 3 men in particular who would be pushing shopping carts with just the little possessions that they had around the city. And I would literally see them everywhere, like all around the city. That's all they would do. Sit in parks and or be pushing their shopping cart. But the sad thing isn't that they had shopping carts with possessions. It's that they never interacted with each other, of course, but I didn't see them interact with anyone. It's like no one ever spoke to these people. And so seeing them broke my heart because of the isolation, the loneliness. Because here I was in the loneliest position that I'd ever been in. But even my loneliness, I had a job at this point. I was talking to people, and I realized because I'd not had the job and I'd been in pure isolation, I realized just how important togetherness, community, being social, I realized just how important it actually is. And I was grateful for the new people that were in my life and this new life that I was beginning to build. But these individuals had no one. And I often questioned how long they'd had no one. And so this hurricane was coming, and it was to hit on a Thursday, and I wasn't from Florida, so I didn't know how bad a hurricane was going to be. And people were talking about it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and as we got closer to Thursday, they were saying how bad it was going to be, and things were at risk of getting destroyed, and how crucial it was to find shelter. And as we got closer to the day, Thursday, I started to believe them. I didn't believe them because I didn't know the nature of hurricanes. I wasn't from here. But I don't know, something in the atmosphere, I was like, yeah, there's something happening here. I can just feel it. I can sense it. And so I was blessed. I had a girlfriend at the time. God bless my girlfriend. God bless her family. They allowed me to, not only did they allow me to stay at their house to not lose my life during the storm, and I didn't have anywhere to store food either, so something that could have happened is that I was just in my van, unable to eat an actual meal because I couldn't store food. So they invited me into their house, but more than an invitation, they were like, come just stay in our house, just be safe, let's not take the risk. So they insisted that I come into their house. And I don't like to be a burden, apprehensive, but they insisted, and I'm so grateful for them insisting. It was my pride that was making me apprehensive. And so I had a place to stay. But on Thursday, I was in the park where I spent most of my time. And I got there in the morning. I was riding in the park. I was recording videos in the forest, just like this one. And it was a sunny day like this, but suddenly everything began to change. And again, you can just feel it in the atmosphere. Things were becoming very intense. Just it's like something you can sense. It's very strange. Pressure. The pressure was increasing. And so when this occurred, there was a light drizzle of rain. I walked out of the park to my van. That way I could go to my girlfriend's house, seek shelter, wait out the storm. But as I was leaving the park, there was one of these men who pushed the shopping cart around. And this particular man, I mean, he was outside in the elements all of the time. His skin was clearly damaged from being scorched by the Florida sun. I mean, it's terribly sad. I saw him often just sitting in the rain. Terribly sad. Sitting in the rain by himself, nowhere to go. Separate from this hurricane day. And so here he was when the rain was drizzling in a park shelter house with no walls around him, sitting by his shopping cart. And I walked up to him and I wanted to help, but I didn't know how to help because I couldn't afford a hotel. I'd actually checked hotels and the hotels were booked because people were coming in from Tampa, because this was in Central Florida. They were getting away from the ocean. So even if I had money, there were no hotels to get him. And there was a moment's thought to literally give this man my van for a few days. That way he could just have shelter from the storm. And I don't say that to be like, oh, look at my charity. I was thinking of giving him my van, because one, I didn't give him my van. And two, I only bring that up because I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? He's in a terrible spot. But what I did is I gave him $10. I had $10 cash and I gave him $10. And when I gave him $10, he slowly turned to me. He was confused, like people never really talked to him. And he was like, wow, thanks. And that reaction has stuck with me because in a sense he was viewing the money that I was giving to him right there sort of as random. And he was certainly grateful, but he was also viewing it as random. And now I can see why it was random. He was right, it certainly was random. Because this man, I never saw him on a phone. He had these possessions which were clothes and blankets in the cart. He might not have known that there even was a hurricane coming. He didn't have shelter. And so in retrospect, what could I have done different in that moment? What should I have done? Well, the thing that I wish I would have done, that I know now that I should have done, is that I should have told him, there is a hurricane coming, get into my van, we're going to go find shelter. This city has to have community shelter for people who don't have anywhere else to go. Get into my van, we're going to go find you shelter. That's what I should have done. Not give him $10. The $10 didn't do anything for him. He was like, he literally said, thanks, I can decide whether to eat or wash my clothes. So I should have put him in my van and took him to shelter, but I didn't. And it's like, why didn't I do that? And what I'll tell you is that the reason why I didn't do that is because I was a blind man. And now this is where the grace of God gets revealed. That was a terrible, terrible mistake. I left the park after that moment. I went to the shelter, which I was blessed to have. And I don't know what happened to him. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what happened to him. And so I made a mistake, but it's my mistake, and the grace of God is that although I was blind in that moment, at least now I can see my fault. Because this is fascinating. such is the nature of recording videos about your life. You can see the way that you change. I remember that I made a video about this exact same thing like 8 months ago when I was in a much worse spot than I am in now. Spiritually, mentally, I was in a terrible spot. And I don't say that to say woe is me, but rather the spot that I was in when I made that video 8 months ago. You can go watch that video. It's something like I met the loneliest man in the world. You can go watch that video, and it's like a different story, because my perspective on life in just an 8-month period is vastly different. And what is different, this small shift, the beginning to go away from my own blindness, from the grace of God, is that at that time in my life, I had lost everything. And then after I lost everything, the little that remained, I lost all of that too. I lost everything. And I was staying with a friend, but his lease was about to run out. And so I was encroaching on a time when I was going to be sleeping outside myself. Like this man who pushed the shopping cart, I was going to be sleeping outside. And so I made that video because I was heartbroken of where I was at in life and how much suffering I was going through. And so I felt very resonant with that man. I felt him and I am him and he is me. We're not really different from each other. And so it's fascinating because my posture at that time was the realization of I am him and he is me. But what I did during that hurricane and in that video is it's like I recognized that we are the same, but what I did is he's sitting down, sad, suffering, nobody's helping him, nobody's talking to him. And it's like I sat there with him and I lamented the world. I was like, this world is so terrible. There's so much suffering in this world. Society is so terrible. Why would we even let such loneliness and suffering propagate within this world? This is so terrible. How did we let ourselves get to this position? We let the world get out of hand. So I saw him as myself, and then I sat beside him and I was like, look what you've done to him. I'm in a bad spot. He's even in a worse spot. We're in a terrible spot. But now I realize, yes, I am him and he is me. Love the stranger like myself. It wasn't the world's fault. That was my duty. This was a man on my path. I shouldn't have I should have recognized my humanity and his humanity as the same. The dignity of a person, I should have recognized it like I did. But rather than sit beside him and lament the world, I should have helped him. I should have just helped him. But I didn't do everything that I could. And I didn't do everything I could because I was blind by my own suffering. I wasn't suffering well. I should have seen us as one and the same and helped him. I should have put him into my car and said, let's go find you shelter. Let's get you shelter from the storm. But rather than do that, I gave him $10 and then went and took care of myself. And let's talk about this in a very sober, clear way without melodrama. What could have happened in that moment is that he had mental health issues or drug addiction that I didn't perceive, and he denies me. He says, I'm not getting in your car. I don't need your help. I'm not going to get your help. In some form, he says, no, I'm not accepting your help. And then no matter how hard I tried, he doesn't allow it to happen. But regardless of all of that, my problem, what I've realized through my conscience, through the grace of God, brightening my conscience is that for me, it is the lack of trying. I just didn't try. And this isn't a situation. I was reflecting on this because I seek to grow in virtue. The greatest virtue is charity. I haven't done a good enough job in my life. I have not done a good enough job in my life at helping people. That's just true. And I was writing about that, thinking about how I could get better at helping people right now. And then this guy came to my mind, and this situation came to my mind. And it's not, we think of charity like, yeah, go to the food shelter and give people food, or go to the place of suffering, nursing homes and places where people suffer, and go talk to them and listen and things like that. Go out of your way. This wasn't even that. This was a man on my path. This is a path right here. He was literally on the path that I was walking, and rather than help him properly, or at least try, I gave him $10. Random. Not sufficient. Insufficient help. And so again, it could have not, he could have denied the help. It might not have turned out the way that I would have liked it to turn out. I might not have been able to help him, but it is the lack of trying that is an issue. It was the blindness at the time. It was the focusing more on helping myself that caused me the blindness, and the blindness making it so that I didn't see the way that I could help him. And so for me, the thing that I need to first get better at is baby steps. If there's someone on my path, can I at least help the people on my path? I'm not talking people on the internet. I'm not talking people going out of my way to places of suffering. But if I see someone today and any day on my path who clearly needs help, can I help that person? Baby steps. Baby steps of charity. And I have to confess this because, again, if I can't see the way that I've fallen short in my past, then how would I know, being that I was blind right there, if I don't become aware of it, how would I know when and if I'm actually also blind right now? So I have to see the way that I'm failing to, or making the same mistake in my present moment by recognizing my own fault in the past. The problem isn't with the world or society or things like that. The problem is in me failing to do my own duty, helping the people on my path. Right. But the other part is, it is good, the grace of God, because although these are things that I don't want to see, it's truly incredibly painful, because it's not about me. It's literally about a man who, he's like me and I'm like him, and he was just left outside during a hurricane. I don't know what happened to him. It's not a trivial thing. It's actually a really bad thing. So it's something that I don't want to see, but I have to see it. And that is the grace of God. Illuminating my conscience and forcing me to see the things that I don't want to see, so that I can be a better man. So that I can be better today and going into the future. Right? So that's my practice. See other people as myself. Love the stranger as myself. But don't do it in theory. Actually help them. Baby steps. The people on my path, help them. That is my practice. That is my practice. Right. And for now, that's all that I have. Goodbye.